Hey guys, this is Larry again with the Texas Car Guys. So I thought today I'd share one of my more funnier stories that's ever happened to me in this car here, as a matter of fact. So this happened, I want to say, I think it was around 2010, maybe 2011, so about 7-8 years ago. I was working out of town in Colorado for several months, and needless to say, I was really homesick. And I was in a work truck, and we were wrapping up the end of multiple job sites. And so I started making my trek home, and I got a phone call one day from one of my clients who had to have another job site started and finished right away. So I begged, borrowed, pleaded, did everything, and they just said, you know, it had to be done right away. So I made a phone call and to my employees back at the home base camp at the warehouse in Houston, and I told them, I said, hey, load up a truck and tools. I'm going to meet you in Austin, Texas. I'm going to get the job site started, and then I'm going to come home, but I want you to load my car up onto the trailer, and that's what I'm going to drive home. So really no intentions of doing anything, going super fast. I just wanted to be back in my car, and I wanted to be home in my bed that night. So I was in Denver, Colorado, and I had drove all the way from Denver, Colorado to Austin, Texas, which was about a 16-17 hour drive, I guess. So not only did I work that entire day, drove all through the night, worked all the next day without sleeping. So come late that night, I was truly exhausted. So I felt like it was in a good spot where the job site was, where I could hand it over to my employees and let them finish it up for me, and I could go home and get into my own bed. So I got my car, and I was coming down 290, and yes, I was going quite fast. And so as I approached downtown Houston, I could see far enough down the road that there was a line of cop cars, and there was a helicopter in the air, police helicopter. And I kind of snickered, and I said, oh, somebody is in trouble. And as I got closer towards the barricade of cars, I quickly realized there was nobody else on the road, and it was probably 2-3 o'clock in the morning by this point. So traffic was very minimal. And all of a sudden, I quickly realized, I think that police barricade is for me. So I slowed down, drove up to the police barricade, turned the car off, and at this point the police are screaming orders at me to turn the car off, stick my hands out the window, get out of the car. So this, I swear to God, I could not have planned this, and perhaps part of it's a little bit of delirium. Like I said, I didn't sleep for an entire day or entire night, worked 2 full days, and here it is now the middle of the night, and the only thing I had on my mind was just getting home and sleeping on my own bed. So this little black female police officer with this nappy hair walks up to me, and I swear to God, I thought it was a take out of the movie Police Academy, where the black female police officer, she had this really soft-spoken voice. She walks up to me, and she goes, Mr. Kirkwood, I need to ask you a question. How fast were you going? And I looked at her, and I started snickering, which I think I upset her. But once again, I think I was in a state of delirium, and I was a little rattled and nervous and upset because I assumed that they had pulled me over for speeding. So I looked at her and I said, ma'am, I really don't know. And so she looks at me and she goes, Mr. Kirkwood, you're not going to talk yourself out of this. How fast were you going? And I said, ma'am, I really don't know. And so she takes my ID and walks off. I guess she ran my license and my information, make sure there was no warrants, which there wasn't. And she comes back up to me and she goes, Mr. Kirkwood, I'm going to ask you one final time. She goes, how fast were you going? And she goes, the way you answer this question will dictate where you end up sleeping tonight. And I really was at a loss for words. I didn't know what to say. And so finally I just said, well, I'm just going to tell her the truth. So I looked at her and I said, ma'am, I said, the truth is, I said, I was going so goddamn fast. I don't know how fast I was going. I was scared to take my eyes off the road, look down at the odometer. That's how fast I was really going. And I said, to be honest with you, I was just in autopilot with the visions of my bed dancing in my head. She looked at me and she goes, well, let me tell you what I know, Mr. Kirkwood. She goes, I first saw you about 45 miles ago back at, there's one freeway 290 in Bear Creek. And she goes, you were going at a such fast rate of speed that I didn't even have time to turn my radar on before you were out of sight. She goes, that's when I started chasing you. And as you come into Houston from 290 from the Austin area, there's this real sharp turn onto Loop 610 that puts you right onto Interstate 10 to take you right into the downtown area. So she goes, I followed you all the way to that 610. She goes, I was just for sure that you had hit that barricade, flipped off and went down to this ravine that was down there. And she goes, when I realized that you weren't down there, she goes, that's when I called for air support for you. So the final end result was that I did not go to jail. I did lose my license. I did have a handful of tickets, everything from excessive speeding to reckless endangerment to a few others. In the end, she took me home, and basically I was threatened that if I tried to turn any lights on, that she would come in and get me and take me to jail. And they did impound my car, and in the end it cost me a couple of $1,000s to be able to get my license back, and lost quite a few points on my driving record. And needless to say, had to also get better insurance as well. So in the end, I didn't go to jail. I did get to sleep in my bed, and that's one of my funniest stories I have to say about my Porsche Boxster S.